After buying a burger for an elderly customer, Emily was fired by the manager of McDonald's. The entire restaurant was shocked and in disbelief. Just a few hours before the incident, Emily Carter, 36, was methodically smoothing out her red and yellow apron. That morning, every crease in her uniform felt like a concrete reminder of her daily struggles. She sighed deeply and glanced at the clock. 4 more hours until her shift ended. "Order up for table 5, the chef shouted from the kitchen. Emily grabbed the tray and headed to the designated table, her mind drifting to her daughter, Maya, 17, who was likely just getting home from high school. She hoped Maya had remembered to use her asthma inhaler. Her worries then shifted to her own mother, Mrs. Carter, whose mounting medical bills were a constant source of stress. "Here you are, sir. Enjoy your meal," Emily said warmly, her smile weary but genuine as she handed the tray to a man in his 40s. As she returned to the service counter, she noticed an elderly man who had just walked in. He leaned on a cane, staring at the menu board, clearly confused. "Good afternoon, sir. How can I help you today?" Emily asked gently. The old man looked at her, his eyes watery, a faint smile on his face. "Good afternoon, young lady. Could I please get a coffee and a small burger? I haven't eaten since this morning." Emily nodded with understanding and began to take the man's order. When it was time to pay, the man's hands trembled as he counted a few coins from his pocket. "I'm so sorry," he said, his voice full of embarrassment. "It seems I'm short on cash. I thought I had enough. My apologies, I'll just leave." Emily felt a surge of compassion. Without a second thought, she pulled out her own wallet. "Don't you worry about it, sir." "This one's on me," she whispered, swiping her debit card through the payment machine. The old man turned to her, his expression a mixture of profound gratitude and relief. "Oh no, I couldn't possibly." "It's no problem at all," Emily replied with a gentle smile. "We all need a little help sometimes. Please, enjoy your meal and don't give it another thought." As the old man sat down at a nearby table, his eyes welled up with tears. Emily watched him for a moment, her heart filled with a bittersweet satisfaction. She knew her own finances were tight, but she couldn't bear the thought of someone else going hungry. Unbeknownst to Emily, Leo, one of her co-workers, had witnessed the entire exchange from the next register. A strange smirk played on his lips as he made his way to the manager's office. The rest of Emily's shift passed uneventfully. As she was wiping down tables, Michael, the stern-faced manager, called her into his office. "Emily, we need to talk," he said, closing the door behind them. A knot of fear tightened in Emily's stomach. She knew that tone, and it usually meant trouble. "Is there a problem, Mr. Thompson? I've been informed that you paid for a customer's meal with your own money. Is this true?" Emily was taken aback and hesitated before answering. "Yes, sir. There was an elderly man who couldn't afford his meal. I couldn't just watch him leave hungry." Michael took a deep breath. "Emily, while I appreciate your compassion, this is a direct violation of company policy. We can't have employees paying for customers. It blurs our financial records and could lead to potential abuse." "Please, Mr. Thompson, it was a one-time thing. I promise it won't happen again," Emily pleaded, a hint of desperation in her voice. "I'm sorry, Emily. We've given you warnings before about tardiness related to your mother's health issues. Our company strictly enforces its policies. Unfortunately, I have no choice but to terminate your employment." The words hit Emily like a physical blow. "But please, Mr. Thompson, I need this job. For my daughter, for my mom," she begged. But Michael was already handing her an envelope containing her final paycheck. "I'm sorry, Emily. Please clean out your locker and return your uniform before you leave." Emily's knees felt weak as she walked out of the office, fighting back tears. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her break down. After gathering her belongings and changing out of her uniform, she slipped out the back door of the restaurant. Once outside, the tears she had been holding back began to flow freely. Worries about her future, Maya's education, and her mother's healthcare swirled in her mind. As she walked to the bus stop, Emily questioned her decision. Was her act of kindness worth this price? Doubt clouded her mind for a moment, but when she remembered the gratitude in the old man's eyes, she felt a sense of peace. Despite the consequences, she didn't regret her kindness. Taking a deep, shaky breath, Emily boarded the bus, unsure of what the future held, but ready to face it with the same courage and compassion she had always shown. As the city lights blurred past, she allowed herself a moment of vulnerability, preparing to break the bad news to her family. Little did Emily know, her simple act of kindness had set in motion a chain of events that would change the course of her life. The unseen forces of fate were already at work, preparing to transform her circumstances in ways she could not yet imagine. 2 weeks after being fired from McDonald's, Emily sat at the small kitchen table in her apartment, scanning job listings in the newspaper while sipping cold coffee. The apartment was quiet, the only sounds being the rhythmic ticking of the wall clock and Emily's occasional sighs. With Maya at school, she had been diligently sending out resumes to various potential employers, from fast food chains to retail stores, but had yet to receive a response. The bills were piling up on the table, each one amplifying her anxiety about their financial situation. Suddenly, the phone rang, shattering the silence and making Emily jump. She rushed to answer it, hoping for news about one of her applications. "Hello? Am I speaking with Miss Emily Carter?" a man's voice asked on the other end. "Yes, this is she. How can I help you?" "My name is Robert Miller. I'm the owner of the McDonald's franchise you used to work at. I have something important I'd like to discuss with you. Would you be available to meet today?" A mix of nervousness and curiosity washed over Emily. The franchise owner himself? Why would he want to meet with her? "Of course, Mr. Miller. Where should we meet?" "Let's meet at the corner cafe at 3 p.m. Glancing at the clock, Emily noted she had just under 2 hours to prepare. "Thank you. I'll be there," she replied, her voice a blend of apprehension and a flicker of hope. After hanging up, Emily sat down, bewildered by the sudden call. Was this about her termination, or something else entirely? Despite her doubts, a tiny spark of hope ignited in her heart. Perhaps this meeting could offer a new opportunity. Emily arrived at the corner cafe 5 minutes early. She stepped into the warm, inviting space, filled with the aroma of coffee and the gentle hum of conversation. Scanning the room, she noticed a well-dressed, middle-aged man sitting alone at a booth in the back. He spotted her and waved with a friendly smile. "Miss Carter? I'm Robert Miller. Thank you for coming," he greeted, standing to shake her hand. "Thank you for inviting me, Mr. Miller," Emily replied, feeling the warmth of his smile as she returned the handshake. They both sat down, and a waitress immediately came to take their orders. After their drinks arrived, Robert got straight to the point. "Miss Carter, I called you here today because there's something very important I need to discuss. 2 weeks ago, at my McDonald's, you helped an elderly customer by paying for his meal. Do you recall that incident?" Emily nodded, the memory of that day, and her subsequent firing vivid in her mind. "Yes, I remember it well," she replied. Robert offered a gentle smile. "That elderly gentleman, he was my father." Emily was momentarily stunned. "Your father? I had no idea." "I know, and that's precisely what makes your actions so commendable. You acted out of pure kindness, with no expectation of reward," Robert continued, pausing to take a sip of his coffee. "My father has early-stage Alzheimer's. Sometimes he wanders off for a walk and gets a bit disoriented. When he told me about your kindness, I was deeply moved." A wave of emotion washed over Emily. "I'm just glad I was there to help, Mr. Miller. I'm so sorry to hear about his condition." "Thank you," Robert said, "but there's more. Learning that you were fired over that incident deeply disappointed me. That is not the kind of leadership I want in my business." Emily's heart began to beat faster. She could sense where the conversation was heading. "Miss Carter, I want to offer you a job. Not just any job. I want to make you the new general manager of the restaurant." Emily was so shocked she was momentarily speechless. "General manager? But I have no experience at that level of management. I'm not sure I'm qualified." Robert held up a hand to gently calm her. "I've reviewed your employment records and spoken with some of your former supervisors. You are known for being hardworking, ethical, and compassionate. Those are the qualities I look for in a leader. Management skills can be taught, but the character you possess is rare." Tears welled in Emily's eyes as the weight of his offer sank in. I don't know what to say, Mr. Miller. This is an incredible opportunity." "Just say yes," Robert said with a smile. "I'm offering you a competitive salary, full benefits, and the chance to lead with the same kindness you've already shown. So, what do you say?" Emily took a deep breath, trying to compose herself. "Yes, of course yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Miller. I promise I will make you proud. I have no doubt you will. And please, call me Robert, he replied, extending his hand to seal the deal. Welcome to the team. As they shook hands, a heavy weight seemed to lift from Emily's shoulders. Not only had she regained her livelihood, but she also had the chance to make a meaningful impact on her colleagues and customers. Little did she know, this was just the beginning. Her new role as manager would test her empathy and moral fortitude in ways she couldn't yet imagine. But for now, as she left the cafe with a broad smile, all she could think about was telling Maya the incredible news. Fate had taken a dramatic turn, and she was embracing this new chapter with all her heart. The first morning of her tenure as general manager at McDonald's dawned bright and full of potential. Emily woke before her alarm, her stomach fluttering with a mix of excitement and a touch of nervousness. As she got ready for the day, she thought about her goals. "Are you nervous, Mom?" Maya asked, leaning against the kitchen doorway. Emily smiled at her daughter. "A little, honey, but mostly, I'm excited." "You're going to be great," Maya encouraged, full of youthful certainty. "You're the best." After hugging Maya and making a quick call to check on her mother, Emily left the house, eager to step into her new role. Arriving at the restaurant, she took a deep breath before walking in. The familiar smell of coffee and freshly baked muffins greeted her, as did the surprised stares of her former coworkers. "Good morning, everyone," she said cheerfully, forcing a confidence she didn't quite feel. Michael, the former manager who had fired her, approached with a stiff posture. "Emily, welcome back. Mr. Miller informed us of your promotion. I'm here to assist with any transition." Emily nodded, accepting his offer of support despite the awkwardness. "Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that," she replied gratefully. As the morning progressed, Emily dove into her new responsibilities, reviewing schedules, inventory lists, and financial paperwork. She quickly realized she had a lot to learn, but her extensive experience on the front lines gave her a unique and invaluable perspective. During the lunchtime rush, Emily put on an apron to help on the service line, much to the surprise of some employees. "What are you doing out here, boss?" asked Leo, his voice a mix of curiosity and skepticism. He was the one who had reported her. "We're a team, Leo," Emily replied evenly, "and sometimes the team needs an extra pair of hands." As they worked side by side, Emily felt the initial tension begin to fade. Her colleagues started to appreciate that despite her higher position, she was still the same Emily, always ready to work hard alongside them. After the lunch rush died down, she held a brief meeting with the entire staff. "I want to thank you all for your hard work today," she began. "I understand that changes like this can be challenging, but I am here for you. My door is always open. Together, we can make sure this is not only a great place for our customers, but also a great place to work." The reactions were mixed. Lisa, a friendly cashier, smiled warmly, while Leo and a few others remained unconvinced. In the following days and weeks, Emily dedicated herself to connecting with her team and improving the restaurant's operations. She set up an anonymous suggestion box for staff ideas, adjusted schedules for more flexibility, especially for student workers, and ensured everyone had adequate breaks. She also introduced initiatives to enhance the customer experience, establishing a small reading nook with community-donated books, organizing family nights with activities for kids, and actively engaging with local events. However, not everything was smooth. Leo, harboring resentment over Emily's promotion, began sowing seeds of doubt among some staff members. "Isn't it a little strange?" Emily overheard him whisper in the break room one day. "One day she's fired, the next, she's the boss. There has to be more to that story." While she knew she needed to address the rumors, Emily chose to focus on positive action. The community started to notice the improvements. Customer satisfaction scores rose, sales grew, and the restaurant received praise on local social media. One quiet afternoon, as Emily was finishing up paperwork in her office, she looked up to see Mr. Miller, Robert's father, standing in the doorway, looking confused and slightly distressed. "Where is my son?" he asked, his voice causing a stir as customers looked on with a mix of pity and concern. Without hesitation, Emily approached him. "Mr. Miller, do you remember me? I'm Emily, the manager here. Why don't we go to my office, and we can call your son from there?" she suggested kindly. The old man's face, clouded with confusion, softened slightly at her calming presence. He meekly followed her into her office. Inside, Emily gave him a glass of water and called Robert. While they waited for him to arrive, she chatted with Mr. Miller about the restaurant and stories from his youth. When Robert arrived, he found his father happily talking with Emily while eating a burger. "Emily, I can't thank you enough," Robert said, deeply moved. "It's nothing," she replied with a gentle smile. "I'm just doing what anyone would do." After Robert took his father home, Emily returned to the bustling restaurant floor, which, to her relief, seemed to be running more smoothly. Lisa approached with a smile. "Systems are back online," she announced, "and the health inspector just gave us top marks. He said it was one of the best-run establishments he's seen." Emily felt a surge of pride and gratitude for her team. "Great work, everyone. We couldn't have gotten through today without each of you stepping up." As they were closing for the night, Emily noticed Leo huddled in a corner, speaking softly on his phone. She caught snippets of the conversation. No, it didn't work. She handled everything perfectly. A shiver of unease ran down her spine. Was Leo plotting something against her? To whom was he talking? Stealing her resolve, she decided to confront the issue head-on. She would have a serious talk with Leo the next morning, determined not to let bitterness and negativity undermine what they were building. As she locked the front door, Emily reflected on the day. Despite the obstacles, it had been a true test of their resilience, and they had passed with flying colors. But she had a feeling this was just the beginning. Greater challenges were looming, ready to put her career and everything she stood for at risk. With one last look at her restaurant, Emily headed home, unaware of the trials that awaited her. The morning greeted Emily with a dark, overcast sky that seemed to mirror her sense of foreboding. Intent on confronting Leo, she arrived at the restaurant earlier than usual, aiming to clear the air before the business day began. "Leo, can we talk in my office?" she suggested as he walked in, looking surprised and visibly tired. Leo agreed and followed her. Inside the office, Emily closed the door and sat behind her desk, forcing a calm demeanor despite her racing heart. "Leo, it seems you haven't been happy since I became manager," she began. "I value your work and dedication here, and I need to know if there's a specific issue we need to address." Leo shifted in his chair, clearly uncomfortable. "Emily, I don't know what you mean. I'm fine." Looking him straight in the eye, Emily pressed on. "I overheard you on the phone last night, Leo. Something is clearly bothering you. I would appreciate your honesty." Leo looked startled for a moment, but quickly composed himself. "It was nothing, really. Just a personal call with a friend." Their tense conversation was interrupted by a knock on the door. Lisa appeared, looking anxious. "Emily, there's a man here who needs to speak with you urgently," she announced. "We'll talk about this later, Leo," Emily said as she stood. Stepping out of her office, she was met by a stranger in a suit. "Miss Carter, I'm Detective Martinez. We need to discuss some financial discrepancies we've uncovered here." A wave of dread washed over Emily. "Financial discrepancias?" Detective Martinez nodded, his expression grim. "We're looking at evidence of significant fund mismanagement and potential tax evasion over the past several months. We'll need your full cooperation with our investigation." As her world seemed to spin, Emily reeled from the crisis unfolding. She had reviewed the financial records when she started as manager, but hadn't noticed anything alarming until now. "Of course, Detective. You'll have my full cooperation," Emily replied, her voice steady despite her inner turmoil. "Let's go to my office to discuss this further." As she walked back to her office, she caught Leo's eye. His expression was a mixture of fear and guilt that only deepened her suspicions. For hours, Emily and Detective Martinez pored over the restaurant's financial documents, scrutinizing every transaction, receipt, and report. As they dug deeper, Emily began to notice subtle inconsistencies she had previously missed. They were small, but undeniable. I can't believe this," Emily whispered, a feeling of shock and betrayal slowly setting in. "Detective, I assure you, I had no knowledge of any of this." Detective Martinez looked at her with a neutral expression. "Miss Carter, the discrepancies began before you became manager. However, your current position requires you to answer for them." Understanding the gravity of the situation, Emily nodded. "I will do whatever it takes to get to the bottom of this," she said bravely. When the detective left, promising further inquiries, Emily remained in her office, her mind racing. How could she have missed these signs? Who was responsible? The snippet of Leo's conversation now seemed directly connected to these financial issues. With her job, reputation, and the restaurant's integrity on the line, Emily was determined to uncover the truth. She threw herself into re-examining the financial records, analyzing every piece of data for clues. Time slipped by, unnoticed as she worked through the night. The restaurant was closed, and the city was dark when a phone call broke her concentration. It was her daughter, Maya. "Mom, are you okay? It's so late." Emily realized how worried Maya must be, and knew she had to reassure her daughter while staying focused on solving the financial mess. As Emily spoke, a heavy silence filled the room, punctuated only by faint city sounds from outside. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. This would be a turning point. "I know this is difficult to accept, but the integrity of our restaurant and our unity as a team demand that we face this issue head-on," Emily said. "By addressing this openly, we can begin to rebuild what has been broken." Robert shifted uncomfortably in his seat, while Leo continued to stare at the floor, avoiding eye contact. "I understand the fear and uncertainty this situation may cause," Emily continued, her voice firm yet compassionate. "But our primary goal must be transparency. We have an obligation to ourselves, to our customers, and to each other." She paused, then added, "I am here to support every one of you as we navigate this. We must act as a team to restore this place as a symbol of positive experiences for everyone. I will be coordinating with the authorities to ensure we handle this with complete openness and protect the innocent." The tension in the room gradually eased as Emily spoke. Robert finally spoke. "Thank you, Emily. Your honesty is crucial. We will face this together, as a team." As murmurs of agreement spread through the room, a sense of solidarity emerged, slightly lifting the burden on Emily's shoulders. "Thank you for your support. We are stronger together, and I am here to help anyone feeling anxious or uncertain about the future." She scanned the room, making eye contact with her colleagues, reinforcing the importance of their collective decision. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, but with their unity, they could overcome the challenges. Robert stood, his face pale. "Emily, are you sure about this? The potential consequences?" "I understand the possible fallout, Robert," she cut him off gently. "But I believe this is the only right path forward, one that will save not just our business, but our moral compass." She turned to everyone. "I know this revelation is shocking, and concerns about job security are valid. However, I will do everything in my power to protect those who had no involvement in these discrepancies." A deep silence fell again. Lisa was the next to speak, standing to support Emily's stance. "Emily's right," she said. "We can't hide this if we ever hope to regain the community's trust. We have to be honest." Slowly, other employees nodded, their faces a mix of determination and anxiety. Leo, however, remained silent, still staring at the floor. "All right," Emily said, a sense of relief and resolve washing over her. "Here's our plan." She spent the next few hours with Robert and the management team, drafting a public statement and outlining a detailed action plan. They contacted Detective Martinez, informing him of their decision to cooperate fully with the investigation, ready to face the challenges with integrity and unity. The news spread through the community like wildfire. Local news crews quickly gathered, and soon the restaurant was surrounded by reporters and camera crews. With Robert's support, Emily held a press conference in front of the establishment. Clearly and bravely, she laid out the past wrongdoings and described their plan for reform. "We recognize that we have failed the trust of our community," Emily said, her gaze fixed on the camera lenses. "But we are committed to righting our wrongs. Starting today, we pledge complete transparency in our operations. We invite our patrons and community members to join us on this journey of transformation." The response was divided. Some praised Emily for her openness and courage, while others expressed anger and called for a boycott of the restaurant. The following days were a whirlwind of activity. Emily worked tirelessly with law enforcement, implemented new systems for financial oversight, and spoke with concerned staff and loyal patrons. One afternoon, as Emily reviewed documents in her office, Leo entered without knocking. "Emily, we need to talk," he said, closing the door. Emily saw the remorse on Leo's face and gestured for him to speak. "Emily, I knew about the financial discrepancies," Leo admitted in a low voice. "The former financial manager involved me in hiding some transactions. I was afraid I'd lose my job if I said no." A mix of disappointment and understanding washed over Emily. "Thank you for your honesty, Leo. That's important. You'll need to explain this to the authorities, but I will fully support you if you cooperate." "Leo, visibly emotional, nodded. "I will. And Emily, I'm sorry for my past behavior. I was scared and resentful, but I realize now that you're what this place needed." As Leo left the office, Emily recognized the long path to recovery and rebuilding that lay ahead. But for the first time in weeks, she felt a sense of hope. Little did she know, her commitment to transparency would have far-reaching implications. Her approach was about to become a blueprint for ethical leadership that would impact not just her own establishment. In the weeks that followed, the media frenzy around Emily's restaurant began to die down, but the effects lingered. Initially, sales plummeted, and a few staff members resigned, fearing the negative association. Yet, Emily remained steadfast in her commitment to transparency and ethics. She introduced an open kitchen design so patrons could see their food being prepared, and launched weekly community forums where locals could voice their concerns and suggestions. During a particularly quiet shift, as Emily was clearing tables, an elderly woman approached her. "Are you Emily, the manager?" the woman asked. Emily nodded, bracing for a potential complaint. Instead, the woman's smile surprised her. "I just wanted to say how much I admire what you've done here. It's rare to see someone choose to do the right thing, especially when it comes at such a high cost." Emily felt a wave of gratitude and thanked the woman sincerely. It was the first piece of positive feedback she had heard from a customer in a long time. Gradually, the community's perception began to shift. Emily's honesty and consistent improvements were being noticed. Sales slowly crept back up, and new customers, drawn by the restaurant's story of integrity, started to visit. One day, Emily received a call from a producer for a popular national news show. "Miss Carter, we're interested in featuring you in our Leaders of Change segment. Your story has caught our attention, and we think it would be an inspiration to others." Initially hesitant about the national exposure, Emily saw it as an opportunity to spread an important message. "I'll do it," she agreed, "but on one condition. I want my whole team included. I didn't do this alone. We worked together to make a change." On the day of the interview, the restaurant was abuzz with preparation. The dining area was filled with camera crews and equipment, and Emily's team, dressed in crisp uniforms, waited nervously. The interviewer, a middle-aged woman with a kind but discerning gaze, began the conversation. "Emily Carter, you took a step a few months ago that many would consider business suicide. What motivated you to expose your restaurant's financial discrepancies?" Emily took a deep breath and replied, "It was a difficult decision, but a necessary one. I've always believed that honesty and integrity are crucial, not just in business, but in all aspects of life. We couldn't build a future on a broken foundation." The interview continued, with Emily discussing the challenges they faced and the collective effort to overcome them. Lisa spoke about how empowering the transparency had been. Leo, though visibly nervous, shared his story of redemption. Asked about the future, Emily smiled. "Our goal now is not just to run a successful restaurant, but to be a good neighbor. We want to set a standard for ethical business practices that proves doing the right thing is also profitable." The segment aired a week later and created an immediate buzz. Social media was flooded with positive comments, and the hashtag #EthicalLeadership started trending. The restaurant saw a massive increase in patrons, with some even traveling from out of state to support Emily and her team. Moreover, Emily began receiving invitations from other business leaders who wanted guidance on implementing ethical practices in their own operations. In light of the incredible turn of events, Robert suggested promoting Emily to a corporate position overseeing ethics and social responsibility for his entire franchise group. But after careful consideration, Emily declined. "Thank you for the offer, Robert," she said, "but my place is here, with my team and my community. We still have so much work to do." 1 year after Emily's decision to reveal the truth, the restaurant celebrated its anniversary of transparency. The place was packed with customers, staff, and local residents, sharing stories and enjoying the festive atmosphere. Amidst the celebration, Maya approached her, tears in her eyes. "Mom, I am so proud of you," she said, hugging Emily tightly. "You've changed so many lives, including mine." Overcome with emotion, Emily looked around the room. She saw Lisa joking with regulars, Leo patiently training a new team member, and Robert's father, Mr. Miller, chatting animatedly. She was struck by the realization that her simple act of helping an old man pay for his meal had triggered a chain of events that transformed her life and touched so many others. As the late afternoon light cast a golden hue over the restaurant, Emily's smile reflected her joy. The path had been long and filled with trials, but every challenge had been worth it. She realized then that true success wasn't measured by numbers on a financial statement, but by living with integrity and making a positive impact on the lives of others. In this simple McDonald's in the heart of the city, a new story of hope and ethical business had taken root. A story that, unbeknownst to Emily, was inspiring others across the country to lead with compassion, honesty, and courage. 2 years after exposing the financial discrepancies, the once struggling McDonald's had evolved into a beacon of business ethics and community commitment. On a fresh spring morning, Emily felt something different as she walked into her restaurant. The place was quiet, but suddenly the lights flashed on, and a chorus of surprise echoed through the room. The staff, along with Robert, Maya, Mr. Miller, and several regular customers, were gathered amidst balloons and banners. Lisa stepped forward, holding a small trophy shaped like a golden M. "Emily," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "today we celebrate 2 years since your brave decision changed all our lives. We wanted to surprise you and show our gratitude for your leadership, your ethical stand, and your genuine care." Tears filled Emily's eyes as she accepted the trophy, which was inscribed, "For Emily Carter, for showing us that integrity is the main ingredient." Just as she finished her thanks, the restaurant door opened and a well-dressed man entered with a film crew. It was the CEO of McDonald's nationwide. "Miss Carter," he greeted, extending a hand. "I'm here personally to offer my congratulations. Your actions have inspired a wave of change throughout our entire organization. We want you to know that your example has led us to implement new nationwide policies on ethics and transparency across all our locations." Emily's heart pounded. She had never expected her decision to have such a widespread impact. The CEO continued, "Furthermore, we would like to offer you the leadership of our newly established Department of Ethics and Corporate Social Responsibility. Your integrity and experience would be invaluable as we strive for a more ethical future." Overwhelmed with emotion, Emily looked around the room, filled with faces of hope, her team, her family, her patrons. She took a deep breath and said, "I am deeply honored by this offer for such an important position. However, my devotion is still here, with my community and this team. Together, we've created something amazing, and I believe there's still more we can do right here." The CEO nodded, as if he had anticipated her refusal. "I understand, Emily. That's why I have another proposal. What if you were to lead a pilot program right here? You could implement your ethical standards locally, and if successful, we'll roll it out nationwide. This approach would allow you to stay in your community while still making a broader impact." Emily's eyes lit up at the possibility. "That sounds perfect," she said with excitement. Her acceptance was met with applause and cheers. Maya immediately hugged her, while Mr. Miller watched with pride. In the following months, Emily's restaurant became a testbed for ethical practices. They conducted integrity workshops for employees, partnered with local suppliers to improve sustainability, and started a scholarship fund for staff and their families. The results were remarkable. Not only did the financials improve, but the restaurant became a central part of the community. Nearby businesses began asking for advice on implementing similar ethical standards. One day, while overseeing a new recycling initiative, Emily noticed an old man watching from a table. She recognized him. It was Mr. Miller, Robert's father. "It's so good to see you," she greeted him warmly. Mr. Miller smiled, a look of recognition and respect in his eyes. "Emily, the day you helped me, I thought it was just a simple act of kindness. Now I realize it was the start of something much greater." Emily was touched. "Thank you, Mr. Miller. Your family gave me an opportunity that changed my life." "No, Emily," he said, taking her hand. "You are the one who changed us, and so many others." As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden light over the restaurant, Emily looked around. She saw Leandro patiently guiding a new team member, Lisa chatting with a group of customers interested in the new recycling initiative, and Maya, now working part-time, laughing with Mr. Miller and some regulars. In that moment, Emily realized her journey was far from over. Every day brought new challenges and opportunities to make the right choices, to inspire, and to bring about change. With a steady smile, Emily headed towards the kitchen. There were more lives to touch, a legacy of integrity to nurture, and much more work to be done. She knew that in this little McDonald's in the heart of the city, a new chapter was unfolding, a story of ethical values, compassion, and the profound effort to do what is right, no matter the cost. Emily, who once feared losing everything, now realized she had gained something far more valuable, the chance to change the world, one burger at a time.